stand tall. Words are blades that never fall. Debate like warriors brave. Every thought we give and save. Through the noise we cut clean. Spirited minds sharp and keen. With a spark that lights the night. Join us in this epic fight. Welcome to the Spartan arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Buckle up and take your stance. In this arena there's no chance to escape the vibrant lore. Dive in deep and search for more. From heartfelt talks to fierce debates, we explore what fate creates. Side by side we seek the light. In the dark our minds ignite. Welcome to the Spartan arena, where minds clash and thoughts gleam. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard.
Welcome to the spot. It's time to ignite. Oh yeah. Operation Hangout. The feeling's just right. Chilling with the crew. We're ready to groove. Opinions flying high. Come on, let's move. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Pull up a chair, let's get in the zone. Voices blending smooth like a funky trombone. Oh yeah. Topics from the heart, making us think. With a twist and a shout, raise up your drink. Cheers. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Bring it down, shake it up, feel the beat. With every word we share, the circle's complete. Living loud, think it proud, that's what we do. Oh yeah. Join the club, come on through, we're waiting for you. Alright. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Hang out.
What is going on, everybody? We're back at it, another stream, another live. You know where you're at. You're at Spartan HQ Network. I'm your host, the Spartan, aka Peter. How is everybody doing tonight? So tonight, you read is Roman Reigns already on Mount Rushmore of wrestling? I think so. But before we go to into let's see who's in the chats. So we got Eric in the house. Eric, what's up, my man? How you been? So Roman Reigns has been on top for a while. With the bloodline, and even before that, when he was the big dog with the shield. What is next for him? That is the question I have. And it's something that we need to consider. How long can he be on top? Because we've seen other wrestlers being on top, like Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Flair, all these guys. And we need to know how long can somebody be on so that top. So it's just one of those things that he's on top and he's very hot right now. Now with we also have to add the factor is we have new members of the bloodline coming in. Right now, with the way the bloodline is, you have the twins, the Osu twins. You have Jacob Fatu. Now Solo, I'm not sure what's gonna go with him. He's coming back into the bloodline or he's gonna do his own thing. It's kind of in limbo with that, personally, I would think. I do see eventually bring him back in the fold, in the bloodline. How or why? That's a different conversation for a different time. But the one person I do see coming to the bloodline at one point is definitely my boy. The guy I've been hyping up ever since I met him last year at Comic Con um Zefa Fatu. And that is a major, and I was very shocked when they brought him back. Excuse me, when they brought him in, because I thought they should have brought him in sooner. But like we said last time, these contracts to fold out. And when they do have the contract, they have to bring him back in the right time. And that is the point of it. You don't bring somebody in when or how. Is timing is everything in wrestling. And that is the major thing. If you don't put them in the right time, you can put them in a bad storyline. And you don't want to do that. And I think Roman Reigns has a perfect storyline. I will say one thing. When his first reigns as champion, I think it was like 3 years or something like that. It was way too long. The biggest problem they had is how to take the belt off him. So taking the belt off him was the challenge. Obviously, they figured out how to take it off with Cody. And that was the way to do it. Now, do I agree or disagree? That's a whole different story. If you really ask me right now, I think that they had at the time, because he was so long champion. He was the longest champion in WWE history. It was so impossible to get him off. And that was the problem. And that going back and forth with that is so difficult. You can go all day long about it. And with Roman, what I do like about him, he has a serious side of him. But when he throws those little jokes in, it catch you off guard. That is the benefit. Now, are we at the point that can we call him the greatest wrestler at all times? I don't know. I really don't know that yet. Because we need to put more time and effort to say that. A lot more time and effort. It's too soon to say yay or nay on that. So is he on Mount Rushmore? I thought so. And that is the problem. Like, is he ready to be on the mountain with the other legends? Stone Cold, The Rock, Hogan, even freaking Ray Piper. Excuse me. These guys are legends in their own way. Is he at that point already? And that is the conversation we're going to have tonight with Anton when he gets on. Getting these guys ready to become the legends they need to be. And that is the difficult part. So we need to consider what is a legend to be on this mountain. Hogan was a legend because he had multiple range, multiple titles. He also was in the NWO. Also had the world title in WCW. And then he came back to WWE. And it was multiple reasons why he's on this mountain. Hate him or love him, that's a whole different story. You cannot take away what he did for the business. And I think that is the catch-22 tonight is how can you pick somebody on that mountain specifically? I think he has. All right. So Eric saying I would search The Rock and Austin from Mount Mountains too. I disagree with that. I totally disagree with that. The Rock has done so much for that business. He was the hottest wrestler during the Attitude Era. You cannot go on. And you cannot go wrong with Austin because Austin was the guy that gave the finger to the boss. He cursed him out. He did the opposite what your boss said to you do. If your boss tells you, hey, do this, and he says, fuck you, I'm not doing that, and he still had a job. That's why Austin is definitely on the mountain. So disagreeing, Eric, I like to hear why. I don't see the argument here. I like to hear why you think The Rock and Austin should not be on it. And give me your top 5 who should be on it if you don't think there should be. And that is the question now. If you think somebody else should be on this mountain versus your top 5s versus my top 5s, and if they're legit reasons, I will give you credit. But I don't see any other besides The Rock, Austin, Roman, Flair, Hogan, and maybe Triple H too, to be honest with you. Because Triple H has done a lot for the business too. Yes, you might say he got a golden ticket to the mountain because of his relationship with his wife and his relation, and obviously that's his father-in-law and all that stuff. So that's why I can't really put him on the top 5. I'm putting him like on the 6th or 7th place. But you cannot take away from Austin. Ricky Steamboat, okay, he's done some, but not nowhere near what The Rock done. Nowhere near what Austin done. People know of him, but when people talk about wrestling, that is not the name usually comes up as often. The name Undertaker is another name comes up. That is another name that comes up on daily basis. Anytime you talk about wrestling and any type of conversation, I don't care what kind of full conversation you're having. If you're talking about wrestling, The Rock comes up, Austin comes up, Hogan comes up, Flair comes up, Undertaker comes up, Roman comes up, H comes up. Those are the 6 off my head right now. No, 7. Those are the people who always come up. Triple H, Undertaker, Rock, all these guys. You only gave me one. You got 4 more. And so far, it doesn't look good on your defense, buddy. But again, this is why we have these friendly debates. I like to hear your argument statement on this. If Ricky Steamboat, the reasons why is Ricky Steamboat should be on it? Give me what he's done for the business to revolutionize. Damn, I can't pronounce that freaking word. Revolutionize the business. Hogan revolutionized business with Hulkamania. Simple. The Rock with the P promos. Flair. Do I need to say more about Flair? Flair lives it, breathes it, and dreams it. Who else I had on my list? Stone Cold. Stone Cold was the badass guy. Fine, it's your show. Go celebrate the tribal chief. I'm tired. Don't bow out like that, man. If you're gonna have a debate with me, just have a friendly debate. I'm not arguing with you, bro. You don't need to run away every time you disagree. This is why we have these conversations. Friendly conversations, Eric. I'm not knocking you because you like somebody else. I respect that. Like you, one of your favorite wrestlers you said to me once was, oh man, what's his name? Man, I just said it too. I can't remember his name. Jesus Christ. Ryder Piper. I don't think he's a bad wrestler. I think he's a great wrestler. I think he's a great performer. Is he my favorite? No. Is he great to watch? Absolutely, he's great to watch. I have no issues with that. With Steamboat, I have no problem watching him. I can watch his matches anytime in the day. I can't take it away from him. When you're talking about somebody on Mount Rushmore, excuse me, it's somebody that you need to evolutionize the business. He did something so unique to the business that you could not take it away from them. And that's all I have to say. When I hear Steamboat, I don't see anything he did incredible for the business. Same thing with Ryder Piper. I don't see anything except his talk show, Piper's Pit. I'm not saying he's a horrible wrestler, dude. I think they have their place in the Hall of Fame like they belong. Same with The Rock when he gets put in there. Hogan, another one. Stone Cold eventually is going to be in there. Ric Flair, don't remember if he's in there or not, but if he's not, he should be in it. Not arguing that. What I am arguing it, keep defense. You can't run away when you're put against the wall, dude. That's all I have to say to you. But all of these guys have something everlasting. Today did something incredible for the business that we can look back and say, yeah, great example. I'll use Hogan when he came out as the third man in the NWO. We blew our minds. Same thing with Roman. He has done so much for the business, and people don't realize that. How many people have they done try to take him out, and nobody could? Think of that. Just think of that. Might you tell me, oh, yeah, it's the storyline. Yeah, it is a part of the storyline, but they see something in him. Something that we don't see. That is the point I want to try to get to. The business has to come first. Same thing with Cena. Cena is going to be in a Hall of Fame sooner or later. Cena has done something incredible for the business that we cannot look back. Yes, you might make fun of him with flashy colors and all this stuff, but you can't take the guy away. He was a workaholic. He worked his towards the end, his body gave out. And that's why you see him a lot of times on videos and clips. He doesn't walk straight. He walks in a crouch because his back is giving out on him. And I feel bad for people like that. Dallas Page. I will not give him credit in the ring, but I'll give him credit outside of the ring. He has done a lot for wrestlers. Again, somebody I won't put him on, Mount Rushmore. Trish Stratus, I will put her definitely on a Mount Rushmore as one of the top women performers. She's one of the best. She probably is the best. If you have a debate on another woman who's could take her place as first place, I like to hear that too. But you can't stay quiet now, Eric, when you get against the corner. I'm sorry, dude. I'm calling your ass out. So, with Roman, there are a lot of factors here. He was molded at the right time. I think they put him in a tribal chief position at the right time, at the right place. It was during COVID. They had to do something to blow our minds off, and that was perfect. And the 2020 storyline of the Bloodline, I won't say that was the greatest storyline in the world, but it was good for what we needed it for. Perfect. The downfall of the Bloodline, it get dragged on at times. That is the issue with it. It get dragged on and dragged on. That is my biggest pet peeve on it. But what else can we do? That is the question. What is next for Roman right now? I don't see a lot. I don't see him in a tag team division because nobody wants to tag team with him. I do see at one point bringing back, and this is going to be a far fetch. And I said it once before on the show. I can see Roman be the only person in two different factions. The Bloodline and the Shield. Bringing back the Shield at one point. If they bring back D-Rose and Seth Rollins, somehow they hatch it up and bring those trios back, I can see it. Them coming back somehow. But that is a far fetch. But we've seen biggest far fetch people come back saying they will never step foot in another WWE ring ever again. And that is something we need to consider that. People might say, okay, you have Cody too. They're sick of seeing Cody. Sick of seeing this. Then bring me somebody else who can knock these guys off. Bring me somebody else. Right now, they're hot, and they're pushing tickets. They're pushing pay-per-views. They're pushing merchandise. When I bought, was it 3 years or 4 years? I was in Comedy Store before, and it was oh man, what's his name? The Usos father. Can't remember his name right now. Let me find his name. Joe. Rosiski. When I met Rosiski a few years ago, the first time, because I met him twice, he was nice and everything, but his agent, obviously, in Comic-Con, I don't know if anybody's been to Comic-Con, when you get in line, you go up You ask for an autograph. They ask you what kind of autograph. You pick your 5x6, and they ask you if you want a selfie or non-selfie. It's up to you. Between 50 or $60. Usually, some people 70, 80 theme. So when you get up that point, you know, they always try to upsell. That's part of the business. They're upselling a T-shirt. Had the Bloodline on there. Friskiski was on there, and all that stuff. It was a great, nice shirt. I wore it twice, 2 years in a row. I bought it 1 year, and I bought it a year after that. I wear it this year too, but we'll see. So I remember, you know, it was $80, whatever. Sign your autograph, move on. Next year come around. That was the first year that Paul went with me. That was 2 years ago. So, and Paul wanted to meet him, so we got in line. His agents looked at me like, "You bought that shirt from me last year, didn't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did." He goes, "Do me a favor, go say hi to the big guy. He would enjoy that." And I started bullshitting with him a little bit. Last year was when I met 752. 752 was joking around like, "Let's cross Roman off here," with his marker. And he was playing around and joking around, obviously. But that tells you right now what I'm saying to you, the story I'm telling you guys. The bloodline is still hot. Give me a reason it's not. I haven't seen a reason yet. Nowhere near. If you give me a reason to say the bloodline is not hot, a good fucking reason, I'll bow my head and tell you, you're right. So that is the question now. Where is this bloodline going to now? I don't know where my co-host is. That is my other question now. So what the bloodline is going is something that we don't know yet, because they're kind of a little bit all over the place right now, I want to say to them. And that is they're going back and forth. The one thing I did not like, to be honest with you guys, was when The Rock, the final boss, lines. I didn't like that too much. Everybody would like to see, and I don't know if this is how possible it is, because last time The Rock was in the ring, he injured himself pretty bad. And I believe that was when he wrestled Cena. I might be wrong on that. But a good match. Final boss versus the chief, the tribal chief. How many tickets is, how many pay-per-views is going to sell? How many people are going to order the streaming service just for that match? Greg's in the house, my man. I'm going to kick your ass. You're going to be fucking old one more goddamn time. I swear to fucking God. But the views are there. It continues getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's not getting any smaller. And Roman is one of the few. You put him in a main event, and people are going to turn in. People are going to watch. People will love him. But one thing I do respect about him, and this is personal for me, I have mentioned multiple times on this channel, from day one since we started, when I was doing Grooming Reviews 101, if you guys remember back in the day, was, and I mentioned this, guys, my mother has stage 3 colon cancer. I have given credit because he does have cancer. He had to step away. He came back, and he took his health a lot more serious. So, and that to me is personal because of that reason. So, Some other names I want to mention. It could be on, on this mountain. I mentioned Undertaker. I meant Ric Flair. Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels could be up there with him. Bret Hart. Absolutely Bret Hart. Bruno Sammartino. I don't know if I want to put him up there. By the next person, I'm definitely going to put his ass up there. Because that's a big ass to put up there. Andre the Giant. Think about what I'm talking about. These are names that you want to. For kicks and giggles, I'm going to put it in my little AI and see what it says. And I'm going to put it on Google and see what is their list. So their list, let's do top 10. Their list on Google is Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Rock, Ric Flair, Undertaker, John Cena, Shawn Michaels, I mentioned, Bret Hart, Triple H, and Sting. 90, now I'm saying like 9 out of 10 names I mentioned already. So let's put the same list in an AI. In ChatGPT. Let's say what they're saying. So number one place is The Rock. I'm excuse me, Hogan. And the reason they explained it, they're actually giving a reason. The face of wrestling when it exploded. Stone Cold, the biggest star of the Attitude Era. Absolutely. The Rock, the golden superstar who looked wrestling and to another level. And I can't take that away. Ric Flair, one of the greatest champions and performers ever. I agree. Okay. Undertaker, legend, champion, and undermatch WrestleMania legend. Think about it. How many WrestleManias he won? He lost. He only lost it to Brock that I know of, off my memory. Shawn Michaels, one of the greatest in-ring performers ever. I give him that. Roman Reigns, the star of the modern era. Definitely is right now. Andre the Giant, the true wonder life wrestler attendance. And this is yours. One of your favorites, Eric, probably Bruno Sammartino, one of the WWE's most historical Impact champions. Every single person on this list has done. That is the key factor. Everybody has done something. And the reason is each one of them have it. So if I go ahead, let's see. I'm just curious what this is going to say now. Because I am curious what is going to say for Roman Reigns. If I type in, what did Roman Reigns do for, if I can type in it. I'm not sure. Let's see what answer I get. I'm just curious right now. Let's give it a second to process. Okay. So he became one of the top superstars from the Shield to the big dog running the tribal, running the bloodline, tribal chief, and won the WWE Championship 4 times under the Universal title twice. The tribal chief became a legend in 2020, turning the tribal chief championships heavy civil babyface into a most career champion. Can't deny that. Universal champion, he was the most historical one, longest reign. I'm just paraphrasing. I'm reading really fast. 1,360 days from August 30th, 2020 to April 7th, 2024. That's a long reigns. And that guy was probably burned the fuck out at that point. The Bloodline became one of the WWE's defined storylines, and you cannot take away. That was the number one. You turned it on about 2024-ish. I want to say maybe 2023-ish. I was getting bored of it. I was over it. I was done. I couldn't wait to take the belt off him. I didn't wanted something new. He became the WWE's he became WrestleMania's level attraction. Can't take that away from him either. He has two Royal Rumble victories in 2015 and 2016. That's facts too. His legend continues to the Bloodline era. Defeating CM Punk in the Royal Rumble. It's actually 2016 Roman won the when went on the defense with CM Punk at WrestleMania 42 and win the heavyweight champion. That's recently, obviously. Number 9, and we're almost done with this. He has created multiple greatest of rivalry. He has a lot of rivals, and that's the thing. Like these are some of the rivals that are listed: Seth Rollins, Dane Rose, or John Moxley. Like I would like to see back to bring back the Shield. Brock Lesnar, Cena, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre. I can't pronounce that name ever. CM Punk, and these are only a few of his rivals. This is why the Bloodline works. He has so many lines. He will not end. He's still adding more to his resume, and that's true. After 2026, Roman is still being pushed as the main WWE attraction and world champion. Do I need to say more, people, at this point? Really, do I need to say more? Why is Roman on Mount Rushmore? Man, mix my words up today. Should I say more? Do I? Because I don't have any more to say at this point. It's just one of those things. Let me see where's my co-host. Because I need my co-host because it's a better show when we have two people in there. So the debate continues either way. What is next for Roman Reigns? I don't know. I don't think he has accomplished everything in the business yet. But I will, as the most historical champion, I will give him more as the multiple storylines coming his way. Either way you have to look at it, his rivals are always having a target on his back. So if I was him, storyline version of it, of course, I'd be looking behind my back like, who the fuck is coming after me next? So, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think Kevin Owens is going to be the next one in line. I'm not positive of that, but I'm. Oh, actually, I'm wrong. Penta might be the next one in line to in a match, and he still has a lot of people he hasn't faced. Penta's one of them, like we just mentioned. Don't know if he faced Kevin Owens. Yeah, actually, let me go to the Superstar series. Let's see. So let me see who he hasn't faced. No. Probably Corbin, whatever his name is. Like, I don't see that. I don't see that being a good match. I think it'll be like a wash off. To be honest with you. Let's see who else we have here. Dominic Mysterio might be a good one. I'll see that. Might be a decent match. No. Joe Hendricks. That's another one I can see. It'll be a decent match. Not great. Decent. Let's not get it twisted here, guys. Logan Paul. I think that'd be a waste of time. Sorry, guys. My computer is acting stupid already. So let's see who else we have. Oh, sure, Paul. I can send you the link. I'll put it right in the chat for you guys. There you go, Paul. He's in the link. In the chat, I'm sorry. Matt Carberno, also as known Zack Ryder. Nah, I think that's gonna be a washout. Let's see who else we have. Obi Femi. I think that would be a very, very, very good match. That's one match I will actually look forward to seeing. We already talked about Penta. Why not? I don't think they have faced each other. Let's see who else we have here. Now, I think it may be interesting if he was to ever be able to come back in. Would be freaking Triple H. What's up, Greg? What's going on, my man?
Hello, old man. How you doing?
Trying to save this stream because my for some reason.
Conversation is Roman's remains, and I don't even know who Roman is, or unless you're talking about Roman people.
Roman Reigns is a WWE wrestler.
Okay.
You have no idea.
I didn't want you to sit up here on your own. So
my question is, let me ask you this question. I thought the UK was big in wrestling.
I used to watch WWE, or is it WWF, back in the 90s growing up when I was a kid.
Back in the 90s, it was WWF, but hang on a second. Before you jump in, back in like a history lesson for you, in the early 2000s was WWF. Unfortunately, they got sued from the WWF, who is the Worldwide Federation, something with animals. The name, but for years they had a good agreement. Listen, you can use the name, but make sure we are separate. Yada yada. And it was a whole issue at one point. They got and they said, "Listen, our agreement's not working. We want our name back. You need to change your name." And that's where WWE came in later on.
Okay, right. I remember watching it back when The Rock was in it. Hulk Hogan was it, and Andre the Giant.
Yeah,
that's my memory of that stuff. I don't remember much of it. Using chairs, whatever. I remember playing the game back in their day at my cousin's place back on PlayStation, and they had like a cage thing that came down on the PlayStation on the game. I don't as I said, I don't really remember much of it, but I was a big fan of Hulk Hogan. I used to have them little teddy bears that used to crush and slam around and beat up and shit of Hulk Hogan.
Right. To be fair, turn your camera on for a second for me. For 1 second.
I need to go set it up. Give me a second. I wasn't expecting to come on. Sorry.
All right, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let's get this guy in here. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our president.
Ow!
I actually heard that one.
Yeah, that was my head.
Paul, what's going on, my man?
And it was.
It's working, but what's going on?
All right, we are talking about was supposed to be talking about is Roman Reigns already on Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
Okay. You talking about all wrestling, or are you talking about WWE? I mean,
WWE only
what?
tonight. WWE. And if you have a list of your own who you feel like should be on that,
Like I said, I wasn't planning on coming on, so I didn't really give a lot of thought going to the show. I would say no, but I think you're probably going to be. This question, I think, is really going to come down to recency bias. So if you talk about over the last 10, 15 years, I could certainly see someone putting him up there the same way I would see them putting John Cena on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. I could probably make a stronger case for Cena over Reigns, but so again, I think it depends who you ask. Now again, I'm Gen X, so I go all the way back to the end of Bruno Sammartino's career. So I think certainly Bruno would be there. I think Hogan would be there. I'm not going to put Ric Flair because, again, he cut his bones mostly in the NWA. And so most of his title reigns and whatnot, that was all NWA/WCW. So I'm not, if you want to talk about WWE or WWF only, I don't consider him part of that list. So Hogan for sure, Sammartino for sure. You may make a case for The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's almost like with them, it's almost like 1A and 1B as far as like the Attitude Era. You could and even make a case maybe for Triple H to be up in there. But I would almost say like those three guys are vying for a spot. I'm not saying who, but either Rock or Stone Cold would be in that competition. And then I would probably put I could probably make a case for Cena. And I know a lot of people don't like Cena and whatnot, but certainly the popularity of the product when he was in the championship mix, whether you booed or hated him, you always was there seeing what he was doing. I can make a case for Cena being in that list. I won't even put Undertaker there for the simple fact that I can't put a guy there who's only wrestled once a year for several years. I mean, after a while, he was mostly Hell in a Cell, and that was basically it. And I thought and I've said this on the show earlier, I thought that that Hell in a Cell streak went on for too long. I think he was already past his prime, maybe 5 years.
WrestleMania.
What's that?
I think you mean WrestleMania.
Well, I thought the Hell in a Cell was part of WrestleMania.
No,
whatever that.
Two different things.
Okay, well, whatever that match is that he had every year, I thought it went on 5 years too long. Where the product didn't even look good after a while because, again, everyone gets old. And I thought the whole act or the whole gimmick kind of got old. And I don't think he, certainly it was a pop, anytime he came out, but I just
he still jumps in once. He doesn't wrestle, but he might do
right. But I can't put you on a Mount Rushmore for wrestling once a year. The same way I can't even do Brock Lesnar for the last maybe 5 or 6 years because he would basically make an appearance or he'd make a run like one time throughout the year. He'd be on the sideline, but I'm not going to discredit the guys who were on that road for 200 days a year for all those years. I'm not going to do that. And so Brock had a run. He left. He tried MMA for a while. He tried football for a while. And then they made him like a novelty that came into the territory once every 6 months or whatever and made a run, and then he bounced. I'm not putting part-time wrestlers on that list. And so from WWE, I got 7 guys I just mentioned. 6 guys I just mentioned. So again, Bruno, Hogan, again, you got 3 fighting for whether you want to say Stone Cold, Rock, or Triple H. And then I got Cena. So that's 6 guys vying for a spot. But I would put, yeah.
Like, would you even consider putting a Roddy Piper up there?
Never.
Why is that?
One, he had a run. He had about a 4-year run in the WWE. Because, again, he came from Portland, came to WWE, I believe, technically he was there in 79, 80, but that's almost like he was like on an undercard of a MSG card. So he was there before, but he basically cut his bones in 83, and you can argue from 83 to 87. He was in a run. He went and made, I think, They Live, and he was kind of like a part-timer after that. He would make his runs. By the mid-90s, he was in WCW. So I can't give Piper that, even though to this day he's probably one of my most hated heels. Like I said, I never got over in fact, I got Eric, he posted in our wrestling chat, he posted on the whole Jimmy Snuka incident. I'll never get over that one. So I'm not going to put him on there. But again, during that time, but I will say this, he was a seminal part of that Rock and wrestling era from 83 when he came in through the first WrestleMania. He was certainly a part of that. And then the things that kind of came after that. He was, no question, he was the number one heel in wrestling probably over that 3 or 4 year period. But then, but as far as longevity, no. Never held a championship, a world championship. And again, I get it. A lot of heels didn't, but you saw in the Attitude Era, a lot of guys had it. Triple H had it. Stone Cold had it. The Rock, when he was heel, he had it. So I'm not going to use the heel excuse not to put it on him. But I think he served a very important, I will say this, he certainly served a very important part of WWF history with the first WrestleMania. I thought he was like the perfect heel for WrestleMania 1, which Vince bet the company on. Because if WrestleMania didn't work the first time, the guy mortgaged his house. He put everything on the line. He needed that main event to come off, and it did. And now we know the rest of the story. So I will give Piper credit for that. But longevity, any Hall of Fame, any kind of, when you talk about Mount Rushmore, you're talking about accomplishments. You're talking about longevity. You're talking about popularity over a period of time. You've had some people who were like flash in the pans. You've had some guys who are infamous. But if you talk about Mount Rushmore, in terms of could you tell the story of the WWE, WWF without them, I would say that I don't know if Piper makes that list. Now, someone who I would put over Piper on that list is Randy Savage. Now, again, I know Macho Man, he came in, again, in 1985, but what he brought to wrestling, what he brought to the WWF at that time was big. His thing, his run with Elizabeth, for that run, I gotta give him credit for that. So I would certainly pick. What's that?
I would give him his flowers for that.
Yeah, I would certainly give him that over Piper. Like I said, Piper, I'm not saying Piper wasn't important. I'm not saying he's one of the baddest heels in history, all that, but can't put him on Mount Rushmore when it comes to wrestling. I think that not enough longevity. I'm not putting Brock on that list. I'm not putting, and I don't think I put Reigns on that list, even though with the whole tribal chief situation, that has certainly been a long-standing run. It's been at the anchor of the company. We'll see if someone like Obafemi can certainly take over the reins as being the guy in wrestling. We'll see if they're angling for that. We'll see how that comes off. But I got to put those. I got to put those guys. The hardest part for me is, again, the trifecta of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Rock, and Triple H. That's the hardest thing for me to do. Is if I had to pick one of those guys, because some could make a point that certainly of the Attitude Era. That's a Mount Rushmore in and of itself. Just those three guys. If you want to put Undertaker on top of that, those four, they are certainly the Mount Rushmore of the Attitude Era. But if I'm looking at the whole history of the company, going all the way back to Buddy Rogers and that line that came after that, like I said, the Bruno era. If I had to take one, I might be biased and take The Rock, but I can surely understand taking Stone Cold for the simple fact also that Stone Cold Steve Austin was also a pivotal character in the formation of Mr. McMahon. So that whole angle and storyline where you saw Vince, everybody knew Vince up to that point as the play-by-play guy. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of fans knew that he owned the WWF at the time. I'm sure a lot of people knew that, but he never inserted himself in, even with the Montreal incident. That was certainly something done in real time. That was not a work. That was a real thing that happened. He didn't become Mr. McMahon until Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then when Vince became Carter of the show, then that's, so again, without Stone Cold, you don't get that. So if you had to really twist my arm, I may have to pick Stone Cold over those other two. So it would be Bruno, Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then if I wanted to be fair, give some love to the more modern, since the 2000s, 2010s, I might put John Cena in there. Not to say that he's even the best wrestler or whatever, but in terms of, just his accomplishments over time, his longevity, that would be my 4 if you force my hand. But there's so many guys, and certainly a top 10 would be easier. Some of those names that I mentioned would definitely be in the top 10. But, if you're going to limit it to 4, those are going to be my 4. And even in my top 10, I'm still not putting Ric Flair. I'm just not. I mean, he had a run. Wasn't even a long one necessarily. But he cut his bones in the old NWA from the 70s through the 80s. Through WCW, that's Ric Flair. That's his lane, and yeah, that's kind of what I'll go on.
See, a lot of people forget, including myself, Ric Flair created his career in a different promotion. A lot of people forget about that, because people think, because he bought, Vince bought WCW, they automatically put him in the rounding.
Nope.
Including myself. I'll admit I was wrong for that. But I gotta give credit to Cena what he do. He was a workaholic for the company. Without Cena, we might have a different conversation right now.
Yeah. And I mean, just his work. I mean, again, whether you like the guy or not, I mean, his charity work is phenomenal. His Make-A-Wish stuff. I mean, he did anything and everything that
they were bloody awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he did everything that that the company could ask for of a working champion. He was the man. I mean, I got a lot of respect for him, whether you like the gimmicks or not, and just the changes. I mean, he came in as like the rapper guy, right? So he came in with the gold jeans and the blinking and the rapping and whatnot, and he kind of evolved into the character that brought a lot of kids. But again, a lot of kids were attracted to, and this especially, I think, if you want to make that transition from the Attitude Era, which a lot of people complained was too adult, too much TNA, not the wrestling promotion, but the real TNA. Too much of that was going on. And the fact that WWE was also going public. So again, I don't know if he could have did that during the Attitude Era. But if you talk about going mainstream, John brought it back to, so if you had the Hogan era, which was very mainstream, that brought wrestling into the mainstream, then you had that kind of Attitude Era, and then you almost had kind of like the gimmicks, era. And then John Cena, I think, brought it back to a mainstream kind of product that, okay, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be embarrassed to see my kids watching this content.
Yeah,
and then there's some guys I think are overrated. Like I never bought, for example. Now some people may consider Shawn Michaels on the GOAT list. I don't even know if I have Shawn Michaels in my top 10. Simply because, again, I never brought into the, to his gimmick. I mean, here you got this little guy beating up Diesel and all these bigger guys and whatnot, other promotion of the day or whatever. It's like, to me, Shawn Michaels was almost like your first sort of manufactured champion. It wasn't Roman Reigns, which and I certainly get the criticism when people said, well, Roman Reigns was basically, forced upon us. I almost think Shawn Michaels was kind of forced upon us. But again, why Shawn Michaels was brought up the way he did, he was the first guy post steroid era. So you knew that you couldn't have, you had all, Vince for all that time. He liked those big, powerful, muscular guys, Hulk Hogan. He liked the Ultimate Warrior. A lot of those muscular guys, that was what he went for. But when the steroid scandal came out, he went to smaller guys who had charisma, and therefore I think Shawn Michaels got the push. But like I said, I was never a fan. The only thing I will give Shawn credit for is one match, and that was the first ladder match with Razor Ramon. That certainly lets you know that he was a great performer. And the fact, because going into it, I didn't even know if they'd be able to pull that off. And to me, to this day, it's one of the best matches I've ever seen. So shout out to Shawn for being able to pull it off the way he did. But I'm not even going to let that one ladder match he had be everything. So again, Shawn Michaels, he might crack the top 10 maybe, but he might be in the 15 to 20.
I think Shawn Michaels. I don't want to say 100% he should be on Mount Rushmore or being a great performer. You can't take that away from the guy. I think we both can agree on that, right, Paul?
Yeah, like I said, the ladder match with Razor Ramon, definitely one of the better ones. The guy can work. The guy can sell. He's got enough athleticism to really pull it off. Like I said, I'll give him that as a worker. But now, if you want to talk about workers, that's another category. He might be. I would put him in as far as some amongst the best workers, but I'll put Daniel Bryan in that list. I'll put another guy who I really appreciated was I forget the guys. Dolph. What's the guy? Dolph. Ziggler.
Ziggler, yeah.
Yeah, Ziggler works his butt off. I've never seen that guy take a night off. I've never seen that guy not slack off. He can work his butt off. I mean, I got a lot of respect for Dolph Ziggler as a performer. But if you talk about GOAT, Bret was kind of blah to me. I'm not saying if like Bret almost belonged in a like I would want to see Bret in a different promotion. If you're talking about like Ring of Honor or something that was more kind of like, that value kind of like real wrestling or more shoot stuff. Again, solid worker, definitely technically proficient in all those things, but again, I don't think he sold. Which is one of the reasons why Vince wanted to get, apart from the fact that he was leaving the company, but I don't think did Bret Hart really sell tickets? I don't think so. So I'm like, I don't know, but again, certainly guys who followed the era a lot more than I did at that time. Did Bret Hart sell out? I don't know.
So the list on Google right now is Hogan in first place because he was made wrestling pop culture phenomenon in the 1980s, and we both agree on that. And you said that. Second place is Stone Cold Steve Austin. He exploded the boom era during the Attitude Era. All right, The Rock. He brought Ultimate charisma with Hollywood peer
Mhm.
crossover. They
Mhm.
take that away from him.
Yep.
Fourth place, and I know you're going to disagree with this. It says Ric Flair. He said the Golden
Yeah,
States
to me
for
he
being the
no, he
champion
was a
for
free
Eagles.
agent. I get it. But he cut his
Yeah,
bones
no,
in
I'm
different
not disagreeing.
promotion. I would never. Yeah. Yep.
Before you mentioned what you mentioned earlier, I said same thing. I said the opposite. Excuse me. Now that you mentioned he curved his career at different promotions. And now, oh, okay, I totally forgot about that. Fifth place, they have the Undertaker. His ultimate in ring performance and his WrestleMania undefeated streak for the longest time. But I do understand where you're coming from. Towards the end of his career, he wrestled twice a year if you're lucky. He even said it
Probably
in
longer.
multiple
When
interviews.
was that? It was like maybe 10 years. When did he start doing like the once a year thing? Like the last 10 years of his career?
I thought it was
Or
5
maybe
years.
7 or 8? Was it 5?
Whatever
I
it
thought it was
was.
longer.
Yeah.
Right.
So whatever it was, he even said he took him a full year to recover because his body was so beat up.
Mhm.
He wanted to retire multiple times, I think, but Vince did not want him because he was like, "You still got more in you," and because he had so much loyalty for Vince, he always came back.
Yeah.
John Cena, because of his compassion, face of the WWE, and donated business. We agreed on that. The one name you
Yeah.
didn't mention was Andre the Giant. He was the biggest
Andre the
box
Giant, I
office
almost
attraction.
put in the same category. I got you, but Andre the Giant, I would almost put in the same category as what Brock Lesnar became, what Undertaker became. Andre the Giant was a novelty. Like Andre the Giant, in a lot of ways, he was like Flair. He wrestled in all types of promotions all throughout the 60s, the 70s, into the 80s. He wrestled in a lot of different places, but the way they were very smart in how they used him. Because he was so big, literally, like the biggest wrestler in, he couldn't be the face of the company, and you couldn't have him in too much. So even in those times, he would come into WWE for a time, or WWF for a time. He would leave for a while. You bring him back. And so again, he was a novelty. He's like the guy at the circus, right? And you go and you see like, wow, that's him. But you even saw, even going up to like 1985, 86, you started to see the decline. Because his condition, his growth thing really started to affect him. Even for the WrestleMania with Hogan in '87, even that wasn't, he wasn't at his best. And then you started to see him after a while. He was basically in squash matches. He was losing to everybody. He lost to Randy Savage. He lost to Ultimate Warrior. His body couldn't take the pounding anymore. That by like 1988, 89, the guy was on crutches because his body started to really break down. So Andre the Giant was never the face of the promotion. He couldn't be. And again, but when you saw him, it's like, wow, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, 7'5", 500 pounds. Andre the Giant. If I would even from a wrestling perspective in terms of this list, I would say Big Show probably did as much, if not more, than Andre the Giant did. From a work rate perspective, from just being present for long periods of time, being a better athlete. Because Big Show, I mean, the guy was a college basketball player. I mean, he had, when he broke into WCW, I mean, the guy was doing drop kicks. He was doing, I mean, he was a pretty nimble, athletic guy for a long period of time. And I think that certainly just, if I would just look at just accomplishment, now maybe not as long, because like I said, I think Andre John started in the 60s. So for 3 decades, he was relevant. I don't think Big Show had the relevancy of it, but in terms of someone, a reliable worker that you could throw in there, 200 300 days a year. Big Show did that. I don't think Andre ever did that, or certainly he never did it within WWE, WWF.
I don't think
They'll
he's
bring him in for a spot.
I agree on that.
He would leave. He would go to Japan. He would go to Georgia. He would go to Houston. He would go, like I said, the thing with Andre, you had to know how to use him. And the thing that you did not want to do is overuse him, because who's going to believe it, right? Who's going to put him over? Or how is he going to help if he's clearly the biggest guy in wrestling? How is he really going to, you buy a ticket for a match, he's going to squash somebody. So again, with guys like that, you have to treat it like a special attraction. And Andre was clearly a special attraction, but he couldn't be the show. Because even when he did finally win the belt, he barely held it. I don't even think he held it for 6 months when he finally won the championship. Because, he doesn't speak good English. It's like, he doesn't, he's not, he's not even overly charismatic. They tried to make him into something when he was, when he made the heel turn against Hogan. But he really wasn't good at that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So then I have Bret Hart. He was the most technical wrestler in the ring.
He was up there. Him, Steamboat, Ricky Steamboat. I thought I saw in your comments earlier that somebody mentioned that. Yeah, in terms of like the sweet science of wrestling, right up there. Like I said, he really had a very shoot-oriented style of wrestling, very believable, very technical, but again, not the most charismatic guy. And again, he couldn't be the face of your company. Whereas you had Shawn Michaels, who was full of charisma. And I think, in terms of from a marketability standpoint, you were going to do better with Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. And when Bret Hart was going to leave, then, he was getting difficult and whatnot. But, a lot of, I don't want to judge too much because, I think there's enough blame to go around. I know certainly a lot of people didn't appreciate what Vince did, and I can certainly understand that. But if you look at it objectively, Bret didn't necessarily do his part either. So I kind of give sort of equal blame to Vince and Bret for their egos and their personalities being such where they couldn't come to some kind of a agreement or arrangement. But if you're going to leave the company, then you drop the belt. To me, that's like courtesy. And Bret didn't want to drop the belt, and he certainly didn't want to drop it to Shawn. That was clear.
It wasn't about dropping the belt. If I remember correctly, it wasn't about dropping the belt. He didn't want to drop it to Shawn. That's the only.
That's what I just said. That's what I just said. Yeah, well, that and the fact that it was in Canada also. But again, it had to happen. He was on his way out the door. So if you're not going to play nice, then Vince kind of did what he did. Now, again, they could have orchestrated it a little bit better. I thought it was just sloppy where everybody was like, what's going on? I think everybody who saw it that night, I think it was like a head scratch. It's like, is this a work or not? That was like some real stuff that took place. Vince actually did get knocked out. So it was just a lot of. That might be a whole show in and of itself. The Montreal screw job may be a show in and of itself in terms of just kind of going back over that. But like I said, he did have a long title run. I know he had a long run. I know he was a tag team champion with the Hart Foundation. And then I would say this. If you want to talk about accomplishments, he won on 3 levels, right? He was a tag team champion with the Hart Foundation. He was the Intercontinental Champion, and then he was the World Champion. So in terms of accomplishments, that's basically the trifecta, right? In wrestling, if you win on all 3 levels, he did. And so I would certainly kind of give him kudos for that. That's more than what I think Shawn Michaels. I don't think Shawn Michaels was ever a tag team champion. And the Rockers, who I thought should have got a championship run, him and Marty Jannetty as the Rockers, that deserved a tag team run, but they never got it off. some of that they say is due to Marty. Marty loved to party too. They both partied. Marty just partied just a little bit too much. He missed some dates. He was just too, they couldn't trust him.
The wild card. He was a wild card.
Yeah. Couldn't. He was great. I thought he was great in-ring talent, just as good as Shawn, but again, unreliable. And so you couldn't have him on that list. In that situation. So I'll give Shawn Michaels, like I said, a lot of credit. What's that?
It's funny you mentioned Shawn because 9th place is Shawn. And he says here he delivered unforgiving matches and earned the title of Mr. WrestleMania. He had good matches. I'm not denying that. But would I put him on the list? After what you mentioned, no. Before, yes. I'll be honest. You changed my mind on that. And 10th place is and you mentioned him too, is in-ring skill and iconic person. That's the reason they put him on the list.
And obviously, I mean, if you want to talk the most charismatic wrestler, he's on my Mount Rushmore in terms of most charismatic wrestlers. So if you want to say that Mount Rushmore, you put The Rock up there, you put Randy Savage up there. If you want to put Hogan up there or Flair, as far as charismatic wrestlers, I mean, guys who could really shoot a promo. Yeah, I mean, he's as good as anybody. So so if you can have several different types of Mount Rushmores, but if you want to talk about just all time, I can't put him there. But I would certainly put him over Piper. I would put him over Shawn Michaels. I would put him over like a lot of different people because he also did. I think the only title he didn't have the tag team championship, although he did found the Mega Powers with Hulk Hogan. That was a huge pop when those two teamed up, and they thought, okay, well, maybe they may have a title reign in that regards. But certainly at the time, that was it. And then obviously it built up to when they had their split and the Mega Powers explode, and you had WrestleMania. I think it was WrestleMania 5. I think when they had their match. So yeah, I mean, but as far as, charismatic, anybody who does just a little bit of the Randy Savage, you already know who it is. You know what I'm saying? The most iconic voice. Who's gonna go, ooh, yeah, I'll dig it. I mean, who's gonna not know who that is if you're any type of wrestling fan?
Absolutely.
So I think Randy Savage definitely changed the game. The fact that he brought Elizabeth in as his valet, which was new. Now, I know other promotions in the world class had female valets and whatnot, but really, when Miss Elizabeth hit, people were like, who is that? And just her being there all the time, whatnot. I mean, it also made him the biggest heel because of the way he treated her. Right? I mean, he'd be at ringside and he'd be buzzing around and stuff. And you saw even Vince McMahon kind of losing it a little bit. I mean, people hated him because of the way he treated Elizabeth. That made him even more of a heel, at that time.
A funny thing, if you watch the documentary Dark Side of the Ring about him, very, very controlling person, it said.
Oh, yeah, very jealous. Yeah, very insecure. Yeah. Talk about locking her up in the locker room during his matches and stuff. I mean, yeah, very, very possessive guy. And ironically, from what I understand, it didn't help much because she wound up cheating on him anyway. So it was. So I don't know if it was to do all that. To say the tight as you squeeze, they go between your fingers. But. What's going on, Wally?
What's up, Wally?
What's going on?
Hey. So I guess yep.
But go ahead.
Wally, did you hear my Mount Rushmore or no?
No, I just got in here. I didn't hear it. Like I was here for like a little bit, but I was somewhere else on a panel. So
okay, all right. So I'll just spit mine out. And again, it's a shuffling list. I think I've kind of whittled it down a little bit. But because I'm older, I'm also factoring that in as well. So I'm trying to bring in the old with the new. If you're talking about WWE exclusively, it's Bruno Sammartino, it's Hulk Hogan, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, and it's John Cena. Not based on necessarily if I like them all a lot, but I got to just look at what these guys have done, look their accomplishments and everything, and what they meant to the business. I'll put those 4 there. But it's not necessarily my most popular. Like I said, I really struggle between Stone Cold, Rock, and Triple H as far as, that whole Attitude Era, who sticks out from there. But like I said,
it's obvious who sticks out from there. It's only A and B.
Okay. All right, but my thing is so it kind of because I only mentioned those 2 at first. I threw in Triple H because he was part of that. But what my thing was, without Stone Cold, I don't know if you would have Mr. McMahon. And I think that really changed the business when Mr. McMahon. So that whole storyline that led to the creation of Mr. McMahon, that's what gave Stone Cold the win over The Rock. But it's very close.
You mean as far as their interactions?
No, in terms of popularity, like on that Mount Rushmore list, popularity, sales, charisma, all that kind of stuff. It was
Right,
to me, it was very close between those 2. But again, the Stone Cold Mr. McMahon angle to me gave the edge over The Rock.
No, but that's what I'm pretty much pointing out. Yeah.
So.
Okay.
But what's yours?
My Mount Rushmore. So we're just talking about WWE standpoint.
Yes.
Interesting. I mean, as far as from the time rate that I grew up watching wrestling, I would definitely say Stone Cold, The Rock, because again, you got to take that as a pair. There is no separation, especially for the fact that the grown up is like, if you take one, you got to take both. Now this is an interesting point of where do I follow up from here. I mean, you can go. It all depends because you can go a different couple of ways around this. But for me, and I'm mostly thinking about. Yeah, you're gonna have to give me some because when I think about that, it's so much different people to think about. I guess I could say the Undertaker from that time of just watching it 2000 and down. So I have no choice but to say that for that time. But also too, for me, yeah, I have to say Eddie. I have to say Eddie. Yeah, from at least from now till from back then of months when I started watching wrestling till where I am right now. Yeah, that's literally would be my 4. Now okay. Now again, that's my I won't say that's my personal, but that's just overall just my thought process. I mean, if we just talking about overall accomplishments and everything else that's done in it, then yeah, you can say Stone Cold, Rock, John Boy, and
John Boy.
Yeah, that is my name. I call for John Cena. It's really just that. I mean, to be honest, actually, no, yeah. If I say like just a general like flat line, yeah, it'll be The Rock, Stone Cold. 2 pairings. Then Undertaker, then John. Yeah, that's how I would go. Now, for my own personal, I would take out John and put Eddie. And then there'll probably be someone else. I probably move out there again, but I have to remember their names, so I don't remember that much. Those guys, but somewhere around there, because there is someone else I'm thinking about.
All right. Everybody's list is gonna be a little different, obviously. And like Paul has more a older list. I have. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and no, this is wrong. It just this is unique. Has to be unique for everybody. There is no right or wrong list. I think.
Well, no, because
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, I mean, again, we're talking about if we're talking about on a criteria, just saying the criteria is the criteria. Like, again, I'm saying but I think that's the thing, is like it all depends on the era of wrestling you've been in. It's like if everyone's gonna argue with Mr. Bennett or Paul, Paul for what he said in his thing, it's like, okay, hopefully you're in that era of what you watch wrestling, because then that's gonna just be the argument amongst that area, and then how long you watch wrestling up towards, and then you set the tone for that. Same way if I'm saying, okay, my earliest stuff when I watch wrestling, like 2000s, working its way down to where I am right now currently, and it's like that's why I'm gonna just swing up from that point of that era. It's like that's just all there is to it.
Mhm.
But I think ultimately it's like, I think when it comes to like the whole Mount Rushmore, it's like you always got to talk about, okay, how much of wrestling have you really watched, and then it's like then that's your barrier. It's like, again, I spoke on a barrier. I didn't spoke on everything, because if I had said everything, then if we just talk about everything, that means you got to go back and look at history. Then yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. When you look at the living stock of longevity, who could go ahead of Bruno Sammartino? Nobody. Not a dead man living. Nobody. So I think that's just a point of just reference of what era of wrestling you've been in.
Right. And I think for me, I think part of what I said earlier was like, you're talking about telling the history of the WWE. Like, who could you, how could you tell the history of the WWE/WWF without these guys? That was kind of more what I was thinking about as well. Like, in terms of, obviously, Bruno was really the first WWF champion. I mean, certainly with his win over Buddy Rogers, and had the championship so long. You had Bob Backlund in there for a while, but he was not a charismatic guy or whatever. But Bruno sold out Madison Square Garden for like 10 years. I mean, sold out every place that he was. Hogan obviously brought wrestling into like the mainstream. Stone Cold with the Attitude Era. That period, and then certainly since the 2010s, Cena was a major part of that as far as popularity. I think bringing it from the Attitude Era into more the more acceptable period of time, because I think a lot of people, as much as the Attitude Era is celebrated, but for a lot of people it was uncomfortable. Parents with kids and stuff, and it got too sexual, it got too too raunchy. And Cena is pretty much, you can sell it anywhere. Kids, the merchandise, and kind of everything that went with that. Even when he had those polarized audiences, the thing is that you watched him. And so I think that's why I kind of gave, if I was going to give an homage to the newer players, especially when we talk about like the Roman Reigns of the world, or anyone else that you want to sort of highlight over the last 10 years, I would give Cena that nod over, I guess, the modern era, if you will. Certainly since 2015, 2016, I would give him I would give him that. But again, the story's also still being written. I mean, it could be Cody Rhodes one day? Could it be what's that? I guess the current champion now, CM Punk. Yeah, but again, he could have been, but again, he didn't have the longevity. For a while, I don't even think he was wrestling anywhere. He went to AEW. That didn't last very long. He kind of had this reputation. Didn't play well with others.
CM Punk is a different head case of where people would see him on Mount Rushmore. I mean, to the fans, they'll see them on their Mount Rushmore. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I wouldn't give CM Punk that much of credibility to get even close to Mount Rushmore. I mean, the thing is though, because here's another thing about the Mount Rushmore I sort of also keen on when it comes to like picking people, is also you have to look at the idea of passing the torch. Because in a lot of cases, most people don't even get past the torch when it comes to climbing up. In most cases, like for instance, if Brett didn't pass the torch to Stone Cold, would Stone Cold really be that guy? Which then also collided with The Rock, with then them being A and B? Probably not. I mean, let's be honest. Granted, I mean, technically, they originally asked Stone Cold to pass it to Brock because Brock was going to be like this new crazy, Jack figure, but they wasn't going to pass it to him. For whatever reason, I forget what the reasons were, but they didn't want to pass it to him, even though, but so he had to sort of like make his way. But even then, it's like, to a lot of cases, Brock may not be, the ideal person that a lot of people think about that cares about the business, but behind the scenes he does, but he will never, assume that he does because you just feel like he just doesn't care that much or however. So,
right.
But in reality, he does because crazy enough, there's actually posts that shown that he actually did care. But the thing is, you will never probably believe he does it because, however you think, his character and all that stuff. But, I think, that's just one of the things. Because, like, again, even from the Undertaker to John, if Undertaker never really, quote unquote, gave him that handshake, would we really ever thought that this would be a thing? Like, because think about it, John was about to be out the door. That whole handshake that Undertaker gave him probably would have been like a fluke of a misread, which turned around and being a whole clear red. So all those things, because sometimes that passing of the torch, knowing that you can find someone to pass the torch to, is always a very interesting thing because most people don't.
Right.
Take.
And what you mean by passing the torch, you mean like the face of the company? Because again, you had Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and I guess he did it for a minute. I don't know if he ever became the face of the company, but I think it certainly. I thought he came at the right time, just given, especially with the steroid scandals and stuff. Because Vince always liked his big muscular guys, and then he, some of the smaller guys started, taking stuff on. So I guess he gave it to Shawn, who was certainly more charismatic than Bret, even though you can say Bret was the more technically sound wrestler.
Right. Who you mean by passing the torch to? Like
that's what I was asking you. Well, you say passing.
Like, are you saying Vince passing the torch to one of them, or are you talking about someone else passing the torch to one of them? Like, what do you mean by it?
Well, it's a collab, right? I mean, obviously they have to do it. I mean, the whole point of the Montreal screw job was the plan was for Bret to pass the torch to Shawn, but apparently Bret didn't want to go with that. Plus, it was in Canada. He didn't want to lose in Canada, but he understand it was almost like understood. Like if you're leaving the promotion, you drop the belt. But he didn't. Apparently, he didn't want to do either, and he had issues with Shawn. He didn't want to drop it to Shawn.
Well,
maybe somebody else, but yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's the thing. So okay, so if that was supposed to be quote unquote a pass the torch moment, well then yeah, Bret didn't pass it. Well, at least to Bret's standpoint, he didn't pass it to Shawn Michaels. He actually passed it to Stone Cold, out of his own words. Look at him. He passed it to Stone Cold. He wanted to pass it on to him.
Right.
Which is why we got what we got right now, as far as them. Because funny enough, he was actually more of liking of Stone Cold than The Rock. So he was way more protective of them in the game. But as far as losing and then hopefully passing on torch to then, the succession, yeah, Stone Cold became the successor. So yeah, he passed the torch on to him.
Yeah.
So that's one thing from that point.
Right.
And then as far as Undertaker shaking John Cena's hand, which, telegraphed that point.
Yeah. 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 What do you, because I also said earlier, because some people were talking about, do you put the Undertaker on the Mount Rushmore or Brock Lesnar, whatever. I've never been a fan of part-timers, which certainly I think Undertaker became that. Like he did basically his once-a-year event at WrestleMania, or he did his Hell in a Cell or something like that. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable putting a guy like that on, even though it's popular when it comes out. It's like certain guys you use sparingly. So that goes all the way back to like Andre the Giant. Right, I was saying earlier, like he would go into a promotion, he'd be there for a few months, and he would always leave. He would go to elsewhere. He'd go to Japan. He would go different when doing the territory days. He would go there because you didn't want to like someone like that. He's like a novelty. You don't want to overuse it. So it seems like just as Andre the Giant was a novelty, it seemed like Undertaker became a novelty, and then even Brock Lesnar became somewhat of a novelty, where he would just drop in at a certain time of the year, but he wasn't working the 200-300 day a year schedule that these other guys did, which is another reason why I gave John Cena so much credit, because he was like the working man. I mean, I don't recall him ever taking like a long extended season off, off the road. So I think in terms of like workhorse, I got to give John Cena his due because he, yeah.
And that's why I sort of just like when you heard me say John Boy, like, yeah, that's my thing with John is like in his era of time of wrestling, the amount of times that he's been champion, I ain't gonna lie, like in more cases than not, other than the Randys and the Batistas, there were pretty much some other people that Vince could have pivoted to that could have gave the title to, but the thing is he just didn't for whatever reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like on the same sense, it's like if you did saw anybody else or if they did create more characters in that time when they had it, even if they didn't have it for long, but they did create other characters, a lot of things would have been different, especially like in more ways than one. So that is just something you fall into. But as far as you touching on Undertaker and Brock, the thing is, I wouldn't give it to him not because that they wouldn't have did it. It's the simple fact that you have to think about the whole over thing of timing. So with Brock, and by the time Brock was in WWE and left WWE because of his issues with Vince and business, my thing is it would have been a whole different story. Because if Brock stayed in WWE back then with the John Cena's of that time and everything else, would John Cena even be 17 times world champion? Probably.
Right.
He probably wouldn't, because you would more likely have eventually Brock there. And Brock would have been the workhorse for people to get over. AKA exactly Eddie Guerrero, one of those guys getting over on Brock. So it's one of those things. So it would be tough for EB to sell that, especially when people talk about dream matches, like what happened if Brock and Batista would have gone 1-1. That was a thing that most people question because they never get to see it happen, even though it could have happened. But because of the business practice that Vince was going through, Brock wasn't with that and he left and went to UFC after some time. So, that right there, yeah, you can't put him on there because of the how long he's been gone. So it is what it is. For Undertaker now, this is one of those pick and choose because there's there's different versions of Undertaker that a lot of people like. They love the American Badass Undertaker. People love the Dead Man Undertaker. So the difference is not the fact that, they were part-timers. They were part-timers towards the end, but at least from the time when they were really active and holding down the roster, I mean, again, you have to think about it. When you talk about the biggest longevity of Undertaker, one of the biggest hit of longevity is his WrestleMania matches. Every single time he's in WrestleMania, he's always 1, 2, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. He just never loses. It's like, who's going to beat this man? He created not only a longevity of winning, but also a longevity of questioning who can actually beat him out of that position. And funny enough, other people were given the chance to do it, but they didn't want to do it because they didn't want to be the ones to do it. So,
right. But don't you think like it went on a little bit too long with the undefeated streak?
Again, that's a pick and choose of, how you want to go with it. But again, it's like I said, other people were given the opportunity. People just didn't want to take it because what came with it. That's all that was. Because again, Edge could have been the very first one to do it. Edge said no. People that I think Vince, he was trying to sign I forgot the guy's name, but he was trying to sign the Abyss from TNA. He was trying to sign Abyss to get him to do it.
Right.
I think, I don't know if the contracts went right or whatever, however it went, but that didn't went through. A lot of people were trying to do it. So it's one of those things, but it's like, those are just some things. But I think in all honesty of like looking at, when you want to compare and contrast, talking on the mic, everything else of that nature, just the influence around the board and just how it all goes, it's just not as strong or popular as The Rock or as, Stone Cold. And, in more cases now, you probably could say it's not as strong as what John Cena did. So you probably, again, I do see some people maybe having him there because of just the impact, the drawing of the power, the longevity. And right, and if he, like, I guess if you were to say like they sold some type of custom bike gear, then you would say the cultural impact as well. But because of that, it's just not really there for Undertaker in a long view. Because again, one moment you're switching from the American Badass, and one moment you're gonna switch from the Dead Man, or you switch from the Dead Man, then you came to the American Badass, then you went back to the Dead Man. So it's sort of like also too, you have to like to think of like what character is very consistent to sell.
Mm-hmm.
We're also thinking that as well. So, things like that. But honestly, I think he won't definitely be in top 4. But I mean, for someone he will, but he won't definitely be top 4 overall, just based upon the criteria.
Right. All right, for sure. sure. Hey, Peter, if you're still there, I may need to bounce a little bit early. Like I said, I still need to get.
Yeah, I
get
think you
some
said
work
you were
done.
trying to end it. We were just talking a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's start ending this slowly because I think we hit the points we needed tonight. I know we went off topic completely. I apologize for everybody who's watching. Anytime he didn't show up, I had points to talk with him, so we revisit this another time. You guys have final thoughts or this? You guys want to end it here?
No, I mean, obviously, certainly the Mount Rushmore list is always, a fun list to talk about. Roman Reigns, obviously, certainly in the last 5-6 years, he's certainly been the face, if you will, or certainly the front of it, whether you liked it or not. I think certainly there was a time where I think people thought he was being forced on them, and I think there was a lot of rejection to that. I think with the whole tribal thing, I think that certainly I think made the storyline, the angle of that, I think made him more palatable. Certainly in that time, and who knows? I mean, he's still, especially these days, he's still relatively young in the business. I think is he 40 years old yet?
I think he is already.
So, but again, I mean, the way these guys go these days, he could still be a relevant player for the next 5-6 years or so.
Actually,
so
he's 41.
Right. So yeah. So again, he could still go probably for some time. Will he ever catch, I think, what Cena was? Because I think Cena was like I said, from a brand and from a marketing perspective, I think Cena did things with the business that I don't think guys had done since Hogan came into the business. With the Hulkamania, with the merchandising and everything, I think Cena really did a lot for the company in terms of the brand. I'm not sure if Roman Reigns affects, your brand, certainly not the way that he did. So for that reason, I don't think I could put him on the Mount Rushmore, but I think he's had certainly a very successful career. And if you want to start comparing him to like the Shawn Michaels or the Bret Harts or those guys, I think, when you tally it up at the end, I think he'll be compared favorably, if not surpassing those guys in terms of accomplishments in wrestling. But on the Mount Rushmore, personally, no. But good discussion, though.
Yeah. Why do you got anything?
Well, yeah, actually, that was my only thing I was going to ask, because since this is about Roman Reigns and questioning where he is in the Mount Rushmore, or at least leading up to the Mount Rushmore, in my honest opinion, I think Roman is at least maybe somewhere in the top 15s, top 20s. I don't really put him that high, only because again, is like Impact. Yeah, the Tribal Chief was a nice shift for his career. But the thing is, if anybody knows of watching Roman and him producing the quote-unquote Roman Empire, yeah, that Tribal Chief shit is nothing but the Roman Empire. Literally, in my honest opinion, it's nothing but the Roman Empire. I'm sorry, when you want to talk about the bloodline and everything else, when you think about the whole story of the bloodline, it's been nothing but messy trauma, control, everything else. And this is the honor of your family and everyone before you that paved the way, that this is how the story is going to look like when you're in there, regardless heel or face. I'm sorry, nah, bro. Look, this is your ego. This is all it is. This is just nothing but the Roman Empire. The bloodline stick is nothing but a cover up, just to be nice and saucy. I'm not buying it. That just for me. Again, that's not a knock on me to if I like Roman or not. I do like Roman, but again, for me, looking at it as a fan and knowing the amount of work that he put in as far as watching him, that is not what I would claim to be bloodline standard of storyline with the honor and the respect of what is the family overall. That is just nothing but what WWE does every single time when it comes to Samoans. Nice cut and paste. So yeah, for me, I just don't put him that high. Now, as far as again, drawing power, yes, because he is a power player. You got to go through him into to be the guy and all this other stuff, or at least to reach the mountaintop. So he does draw power. It is what it is, right? Longevity. Now look, title reign wise, amongst within the realms of him being the bloodline, aka also Tribal Chief. Again, at the start, I didn't love it. Because again, it just seems like every other time you're just losing, and then it feels like you're weak, and then it's like you have to use family just to help you keep on winning, which it wasn't really a good look in comparison. Plus, you have to also think about this. You are a reflection of everyone that came before you in position. And when you look at that and you understand that visual, you have to understand you look like the weakest in the room. That's sad a little bit. So again, I'm just not loving on that part. But again, you can still talk about longevity in a lot of ways, one thing, whatever. So it's like, it's like all these other things. But yeah, just not there for him right now, for me, in my opinion. Cultural influence, again, standing on the whole family trademark and everything. That's right. I ain't gonna lie. There's so much things with Roman, and it's so hard because I think it's just one of those things where it's like, it's there, but it's like it's not what you would hope it be. It's like, honestly, like if Roman had to sit here and say his claim to the like where he is in Mount Rushmore, he'd probably tell you A, B, and C. But no, as far as me as a fan looking at this, is like Impact. You had your moment in Impact, that's for sure. Drawing power, you had that well too. Your longevity, as far as what you faced, what you done in the midst of it all, yes and no. Cultural influence, again, it's a yes and no, depending on how you want to choose and go by it, as far as the look, the performance, and then how that translate outwards. You can pick and choose on that. And then, of course, the contribution. And this is my thing to me, right? In another world, in another dimension and everything, if Roman was being marketed in WWE, the idea of knowing the will to fight for a dream that you didn't think would probably even happen, but has happened, would have been the thing. See, the thing is so crazy because I know when Roman talked about, how he was doing his promo with Cody Rhodes and how, he wished he was his son and all these other things. That, what's so sad about it is like, imagine if they flip that and it's like his conversations with the dream and everything else, which is to inspire him to have a dream. Because let's be honest, with you fighting leukemia, your dreams could have been over with. Your wrestling dreams could have been over with. And knowing that you're constantly fighting, constantly doing what you're doing. Think about how much people out there that were fighting diseases and fighting their things and, everything. And then you're that one perfect picture of the willingness to fight it all just to reach to the mountaintops. That, for me, would have been much more necessary if they pushed that for Roman, but they never did. So yeah, like I said, there's some parts of Roman, like, yeah, you give them to him, but there's just others, like it's just not what you want it to be, or it's just not enough to what he had contributed. To me, it's like, I get it. Other people and other wrestlers will say, in the amount of times what he's done, this and that, yada yada, and hey, fans can love it, hate it, in between. It's all about what you picture on. And again, if we're talking about Mount Rushmore, as far as your lineup to the top, you got a few, you just don't got it all. That's how I'm gonna put it up there.
Guys, thanks for jumping in for the last minute. I both appreciate you guys. So let's do a quick schedule there. Tomorrow night, we're gonna be talking about are parents too soft on their kids today? That is the conversation we're gonna have tomorrow. And on Wednesday, we'll be going over well, a long day. Dark Knight versus Ninja Knight versus Dark Knight. Shredder versus Batman. To see who's gonna win that one. We are off Sunday because of the holiday, and we'll be back on Monday. I gotta reschedule some stuff, so I will be posting that stuff very soon. Except that, guys, this was the Spartan HQ Network. I am the Spartan, my man, the president, aka Mr. Bennett, Paul, and my man Wally. As always, stay fresh, stay safe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.